I had the heart palpitations, the hypnic jerks. This would always happen at nighttime. I would be anxious all day, but even more so at nighttime. It's like as soon as I hit that bed, my survival brain would just go off the charts. I would have like these crazy intrusive thoughts. Like the thoughts I was having were just crazy. Like there was a time, Daniel, when I would be walking in my woods when I was in the thick of insomnia and like praying to God, like, please, like, don't let me go crazy, because that's what I thought was going to happen. And just not believe those lies and what's on the internet. There's so much like false information on the internet. So much. I'm still on this journey. I'll always be on this journey. It took me a while to get to where I am now, but thanks to your book and your channel and the coaches and you, I learned so much from you guys. I just can't thank you guys enough.
Hi there, and welcome to yet another really special Talking Insomnia episode. We have Kristen with us. Welcome.
Thank you, Daniel.
So glad to have you here. And just for the audience to know, you just sent an email, I think, to us saying like, hey, I'd be happy to be a guest. And that's always so appreciated because these stories bring so much hope, inspiration, and education to the community. So with that said, tell us in your words how you started having trouble sleeping.
Okay, so I've had trouble sleeping in the past, here and there, nothing too crazy. It wasn't, real insomnia. Now I know the difference of what real insomnia actually is. But the first time I experienced actual insomnia was after I had my son. I have a daughter also, she's older, but I had my son in 2017 and I had, complications having him. It was extremely stressful experience towards the end. And I had a postpartum anxiety and depression. I didn't know what was going on, though. I couldn't sleep at all. Like after I had him, there was no sleeping. I had a lot of anxiety, the typical heart palpitations at nighttime, no matter how hard I tried, because I tried everything. I was telling my husband, I'm like, I don't understand. No matter what I do, I lay there and I just can't shut my mind off and go to sleep. And it took me like 3 months to even talk to anybody about it. I had no appetite. I was terrified. I couldn't sleep. And everything you read on the internet is just fear-based. If you don't sleep, you're going to go crazy. You're going to lose your mind. So that just fueled the fire. And when I actually went to someone to go get help for postpartum, for my postpartum issue, it was just more fear put into my mind. She's like, if we don't get you to sleep soon, you're going to start feeling even worse. And, worse things are going to start happening, which that's the last thing you want to tell someone who's already fired up about this. And eventually I got put on medication, which made it even worse for me to not sleep in the beginning until I guess, on a chemical level, it took the hyperarousal down eventually to where I slowly started to sleep. I was on antidepressants for many years, and then I came off, and I feel like I came off too abruptly, which caused insomnia again.
Sorry to interrupt, Kristen, but these like 3 months after having your son was really, really difficult. Eventually you saw a doctor and they prescribed medication, and eventually kind of the hyperarousal started to fade a bit. Things got a little bit easier. And how long from that point until you now started having trouble again?
So coming off the medication is where I started to have an issue. So I was on medication for about 2.5 years. And in between that, I did have periods of time while I was on the medication that I had a few nights of not sleeping here and there, because again, I do, and I haven't struggled with anxiety in the past. But I think that medications help out with the hyperarousal a little bit so I think I came off the medication I came off rather fast. And I've had this happen before. And then the insomnia came back, I want to say maybe a week to 2 weeks after I stopped taking the medication, it came back. It came back, with a vengeance, like really bad. I was not sleeping for a while, to be honest with you. And it took a really long time again. And then I think I was struggling on and off. And I think around, I'm trying to think of what year it was that I had found you. Maybe 2021 or something like that. I think I found your channel, and someone had recommended your book, Set It and Forget It, which was an amazing book. Like that, reading your book was the first time I felt like, there was a real answer, because anywhere else I looked for insomnia, it was not, the information wasn't helpful. It was, as you say, there was a lot of like sleep efforts, like not watching TV at night, not looking at the blue light, just all these things to control, which just made it even worse for me, to sleep, because the more control you put into it, the less sleep you're going to get. And it took me a little bit to start implementing the things you were teaching. I was like binge watching all of the videos, because like I felt like that was honestly the only hope I had. And I experienced insomnia really bad. I say like I had on and off periods, but the last time I experienced really bad insomnia was December, because I ended up going back on medication again because I had horrible health anxiety. I had a health scare, and my anxiety was through the roof again. And I went on medication for another couple of years, and this past December I came off again, and I experienced probably the longest, the second longest period of time of no sleep. And I mean, like when I tell you weeks and weeks and weeks, I can't tell you how many weeks of no sleep. But again, I was, reread your book again. I watched the videos nonstop, which is probably not the best thing to do. But when you're in the thick of it, it's like you feel like you're just trying to hang on to anything. And anyways, I came off the medication, and again, it was a lot worse. I think that something has to happen when you come off of medications. And I know that, some people might disagree, but I've had experience coming on and off. It causes, you can have your own hyperarousal, but when you come off of medication, like your nervous system is like in shock, and it causes this hyperarousal. And I know hyperarousal is what causes it. And then on top of that, I think there's so much fear that behind not sleeping, it makes the hyperarousal even worse. So again, when I came off the medication this past December, I had the heart palpitations, the hypnic jerks. This would always happen at nighttime. I would be anxious all day, but even more so at nighttime. It's like as soon as I hit that bed, my survival brain would just go off the charts. I would have intrusive, like these crazy intrusive thoughts. Like the thoughts I was having were just crazy. But again, I learned a lot from, you and the people, the other coaches on your team, just saying that those, those intrusive thoughts, the hypnic jerks, just the bodily symptoms you get at night, at nighttime, and all that fear that comes up, and how, a couple people explain that, your survival mind is literally thinking that nighttime and wakefulness is a threat. And I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, because literally as soon as I enter my bed, I would even get panic attacks at nighttime. I'd lay there, the second I turned the lights off, I would have panic attacks, where I'd have to get out of bed. And so yeah, that's what happened. And I'm still on this journey. I'll always be on this journey. It took me a while to get to where I am now, but thanks to your book and your channel and the coaches and I learned so much from you guys. Like it's unbelievable. Like I think that I just can't thank you guys enough, because I learned so much. And slowly, when I started implementing your teachings and taking it seriously, and I mean slowly, I would have these waves of like having trouble and then not having trouble for a couple days, and then would bounce back and forth. And then my the hyperarousal kind of changes in a way when you get towards the end, where you start having more confidence in yourself and your ability to, heal yourself, because you are your own healer. And I learned that as well, where nobody's going to heal you but yourself. So I think learning the things that you guys teach and implementing them and gaining that confidence a little at a time. So each time I would come out of an episode, I would be like, I did that. Like, I came out, and then it would happen again. And it still does. But I'm at the point now, I can honestly say, where I'm not scared if I have a night or two of no sleep. Like, I know that sleep is coming down the road. And I no longer get the bodily symptoms and the heart palpitations. I do get hyperarousal when it comes up, but it's like the hyperarousal has changed. It's no longer as intense as it was. It may last a day or two, but it fades by just accepting, if I am up at night, I do something fun. I watch the TV show I want to watch. I have another great thing that you always would say was, have full days, go out and go for that walk, go to that party, do what you got to do. And that's what I did. I kept living my life no matter what. And that's when it all started to make sense and, work out for me, and things started to change. And, yeah, like I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, I had a bout of a little, some sleepless nights, and it didn't last for long. And then I went back, and then I slept, and then I came back for a day or two, and now I'm back to sleeping good again. So it's like, I'm okay whether it comes to me or not. And, no matter when it comes up, like, I'm no longer scared like I was. Like, there was a time, Daniel, when I would be walking in my woods when I was in the thick of insomnia, and like praying to God, like, please, like, don't let me go crazy, because that's what I thought was going to happen. And if I didn't go crazy, nobody else is. And, to just not believe those lies and what's on the internet. There's so much like false information on the internet. So much.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, wow. No, I'm so glad you brought this up, because, as you said, that is one of the most common worries people have, is that I'm somehow going to go crazy, whatever that means. Yet there's
yeah.
no evidence whatsoever that happens, and just hearing from someone like you can be so reassuring for a community. And overall, just so glad you found us. And a little quick comment here on what you said, like, when people tell me, hey, Daniel, like, I slept 7 hours yesterday and I haven't done it in a long time, then of course I'm glad. I'm like, that's nice. Things are getting easier. Things are kind of sinking in. Hopefully that's nice. But that person there can be a little bit element of like, yes, I slept 7 hours. Now I'm going to do it again. A little bit of performance anxiety, right? So I'm glad, but I'm more excited when somebody tells me, hey, Daniel, like, I didn't sleep much yesterday, and I'm okay. Like, I'm fine. I'm not reacting much to it. Then I'm like, oh, this is really nice, because then that leads to like less action, less performance anxiety, and things get easier and easier. So when what you just said there about like, I might have a sleepless night or two, but I'm not reacting so much more. I'm not reacting much to it. That to me is like, that makes me really glad, because then I can see this person is on a very, very nice path. Now, with that comment, I just want to quickly go back, just for context for the community. During the first about when things were really difficult, or the last about when things were really difficult, what were some of the things, if any, that you tried in terms of like sleep efforts? Did you go through a lot of those?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning of it, yes. Like the first time and this past time, in the beginning, I mean, especially the first time before I really knew, was introduced to you. Oh yeah, I tried sleeping aids. I tried guided meditations. That was a big one. Everyone's like, do the guided meditations. Those are going to work. And it seemed like the more pressure I put myself, like, and watch, I'd listen to the guided meditations, and then I'd sit there and I'd still be on high alert, just waiting for that second that I'd fall asleep. It just still puts you, I don't know, it's still kind of like you're trying to control it. And when you try to put any kind of control over it, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because again, it took me a while to, for this to sink in, but, sleep comes naturally. And when you used to say that, I was like, but it's not happening. But then like when I practice this, for a while, then I'm like, it all makes sense to me now. You know what I mean? That the hyperarousal is a reason why this is all happening. And no matter what you do, you can't control that. You just kind of have to accept it and prove to your subconscious mind that it's no real threat. And it takes a while for that to happen. And it took a while for me to believe what you were saying, because I would get so frustrated. I'm like, I would try and it wasn't happening, but everything makes sense in the end when you start implementing this stuff. So I'm sorry. Back to what you said, there was quite a bit, and I would be really big with looking at the time at night, waking up and looking at the time. So that was really helpful when I started to do the timeless sleep, where I wouldn't look at the time. I'd just I get to bed at the same time and wake up with that alarm at the same time, every day. Like, I give myself a 7-hour window, and I still do that. Actually, I still don't look at the clock when I wake up at night. It really is helpful. There was, doctors prescribed me, benzos to help me relax at night, and that helped sometimes, but not really. It only helped maybe for a night or two, but I was still, and maybe if I did sleep, it would be like a tiny bit of sleep. None of the medications worked for me.
Yeah.
It was, there was a lot of trying to control my sleep. There really was. I'd be so hyper focused on me not sleeping that I just wouldn't sleep. I just had to let all that go.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing this. And I think you brought up such a nice point, which is that it takes time. And when we do, episodes like this, they're so fantastic because they bring hope and inspiration and education to the community. But we also kind of compress a journey that's been often years into 40-minute episodes. So I just want to highlight for the community here that you actually found us in 2021, and it's now in the past, let's say 6 months, 7 months, that's when things have really sunk in. So it can take a while. And it's helpful to everyone to know that, because if people think, it should be, I will listen now for a couple of weeks, it should be happening now, then that becomes a source of pressure. So knowing that it can take time is so helpful. Now, I wanted to ask you also about your days. This really started when you had your son, and one obligation that I'm assuming you had was to take care of your son and maybe your other child. And so how are your days like during these stretches of insomnia? Like, how did you function? How did you do during the days?
I wasn't doing so well for a while, to be honest with you. It was not good, and that was before, I found you. And again, even after I did find you, it took me a while to take this, and, implement these teachings. It wasn't good. I wasn't doing much of having full days of being outside. I felt it really hard to get up in the mornings and take care of 2 children, and the guilt, I felt I had such horrible mom guilt that I feel like I wasn't doing the best I could. I just felt like I had no energy, and I kind of felt hopeless at times, because it felt very lonely. I was in this alone, because no matter how much you talk to your loved ones who's never had any sleep problems or don't really know much about insomnia, they don't understand at all. It's like, just do this or just do that. I'm like, it's not that easy. I just can't, no matter how much, I just can't. And it was a scary place for a while, honestly, until I found, people. I actually found a support group with, women with postpartum and stuff like that. And a lot of them also had the same thing, the insomnia and stuff like that. So that was a time that actually helped out a lot too, just talking to people who were going through the same thing. And I think that's where I possibly heard about you when they were talking about insomnia. I think your name came up. It comes up quite often on the internet nowadays. And but yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that. And just a quick comment on what you said about it coming up a lot. That makes me so glad. Oftentimes people say nowadays that they find us through Reddit or a Facebook group or something like that. So thanks for everyone out there who's spreading the word. That's amazing. Now, so you that helped. Were you sort of muddling through the best you could, or did other people sort of step in and take care of your children for you during this time?
No, I mean, my husband helped as much as he could, but he was working a lot. So I felt like I was muddling through like a lot of the times. It felt really scary to me. Again, because I was having horrible anxiety. I didn't know much about anxiety healing either. I'm actually working a program for my anxiety now. And some people I've been following for a while as far as anxiety healing. And then I found you with the insomnia. And I feel like you guys teach the same things. Like a lot of the people that I follow who, help teach you how to heal anxiety yourself. It's like for them with anxiety, like you are for sleep, like you're like the main guy for insomnia. I feel like that I've, learned from. And I actually recommend, like when I see people struggling with the actual insomnia, I try to explain to them and I tell them about you because, you guys definitely are, you give an actual solution. I feel like not a lot of people give you an actual solution to this problem. The other external things that you try to grab to fix fix actual insomnia, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked for me at least. And I feel like I hear the same thing from other people as well.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, it tends to be exactly like you said, those external things that people tell you, try this and try that. It just becomes those sleep efforts, those attempts to control again, that makes things actually more difficult, if anything, typically. Now, for the audience who are curious, what are some people that teach on anxiety in a way that's kind of similar to ours that you'd recommend? Are there any particular
Oh yeah, for sure. So Dennis Simsick, the anxiety guy, I recommend him. I've been following him for a really long time, and it took me a while to implement a lot of his teachings as well. He himself he has struggled with all kinds of anxiety disorders just like I have, and I'm actually working his program, the Health Anxiety University program right now. I'm actually working that, even though I've already started implementing his teachings. It's really been helpful. And there's somebody else that my mind's going blank. The Anxious Truth. I think you actually did a podcast with him. He's another great one to check him out on YouTube. Yeah, those guys really teach like solution based, practices like to heal. Everything that I've learned from them works. It's just taken me a really long time. And healing is not, I had to learn this too. Like healing is not having anxiety and not having insomnia ever. It's what you do with it when it comes up. Like I no longer, if I'm in the car, if I'm having a panic attack in the car, which I used to get, I just let it happen and I drive to that store. I don't drive back home. I just continue to drive. And my panic attacks hardly come. They come maybe, once a year, twice, if that now. The same thing goes for insomnia when it comes up. Or if sleepless nights come up, should I say. I just let it be. I don't react to it and it levels out itself. The hyperarousal will come down. I feel like your subconscious mind, just stores memories and things, and you can, you kind of make these patterns of like fear and your subconscious holds on to that. You can reverse all of that. You can reverse all those old behaviors and yeah, you can heal yourself. Like I've healed myself through this process. And for a long time, I didn't think that way. I feel like it's good to have other people with you and to learn from other people. But at the end of the day, your reaction to what's going on is going to be the thing that heals you. Like your reaction or non-reaction, should I say, to these things is what's going to heal you.
Yeah, so well said. And I was gonna, earlier I was planning to ask you what kind of similarities you had seen in terms of like healing anxiety struggles or healing insomnia. But now I'm hearing you say what I believe so much is that, all kinds of difficult things happen to us. We feel anxious, we have a panic attack, we have a sleepless night. That's going to happen to most people at some point, right? All of us, in fact, have some type of like, inner storm sometime or difficult thing. But it's how we react to that really matters. And when our reaction becomes, not that much, then whatever struggle we had becomes self-limiting. It doesn't last that long. That's kind of what I'm hearing you have found as one kind of key similarity. But would you agree with that, or do you have other ones that you found similar?
I do, absolutely. I think in that moment, right before, right when it's happening, like your subconscious is waiting for you, like kind of waiting for guidance, whether you're going to continue to react as if it's a threat or not a threat. And when you react as it not being a threat anymore, it stores that as safety. So the next time you may come across, you know, panic attack, anxiety attack, intrusive thought, if you're just like, okay, so there it goes again, and you don't react to it, then your subconscious is like, oh, we don't really need to be on high alert about that anymore. And slowly, it may not happen like right away, but the intensity of it will start, you'll see it start going down, and eventually you become disinterested in it. Like your subconscious is no longer interested in it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So well said. And I agree 100%. That's how I see it too. Now, I have a question for you. If you know what comes up particularly much, I would say, when it comes when it's a parent who struggles with sleep, and maybe even more so, particular when it's a mom, it's there's often a lot of guilt there. Like, I'm not being the mom I want to be. I'm not being the partner I want to be. I'm not being the friend I want to be. And something that I often share is that, there's some, of course, there's some truth there that we may not be there fully for the people we love, but often when you ask like kids whose, let's say mom had insomnia, like, what was it like then? They're just like, oh, you had insomnia? Like they don't even know. So
Yeah.
my point is that you can actually really be a wonderful mom and parent and friend, even when you don't feel like that you're 100%, and that can take a lot of pressure off. But what would you agree with that, or what would you say to maybe a mom who's feeling a lot of guilt at this moment?
I think that, we have to put the bat down. I feel like nobody judges us more than we judge ourselves. We put so much pressure on ourselves, and that's people not even going through postpartum. That's like anybody. I feel like, um, your kids do know that they're loved. And a lot of these thoughts that are coming up again are from our state of mind that we're in, because again, our flight or fight response, and our survival mind is going off when you're going through this. So a lot of the thoughts that we're having are going to be thoughts like that of hope. Those really aren't our thoughts. Like, those thoughts aren't coming from our higher self. They're coming from a nervous system that's on overdrive. So you cannot, when you're out of it, you can think clearly, but when you're in it, you can. It's like that. It's like when you're looking in a mirror and it's fogged up when you're in the shower from the steam. Like, you can't see clearly when you're in it. You can't. Your thoughts are actually your good thoughts are actually being filtered out when your nervous system is triggered. So a lot of like there is really no rational thinking when you're in that. The rational mind is out the window. I actually learned when you're in flight or fight, your prefrontal cortex loses blood. It's offline. The thinking part of the brain is really offline. So you can't trust all the thoughts that you're having. It's going to make you feel unsafe. It's going to make you feel like you're not doing good enough. And it's going to give you feelings like that. But the thing is to like not buy into the lie. It's really not true.
Yeah.
And my kids know that you're right. My kids didn't realize I wasn't sleeping. I was still feeding them, bathing them. Like, I survived through that. As much as it felt really hard and difficult,
Yeah.
I was still able to do it, and that was going a long time with what I felt to be zero sleep.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And
No, that's super well said. I 100% agree with you. And I loved your expression of like putting the bat down. And I just want to ask you maybe a few more things. One was, if you could travel back in time to when you started having trouble sleeping and tell yourself something, what would you pick?
I would probably say what I said before, like, you are your own healer. You are the one that's going to do the healing. That, and just tapping into, like, for me, it was, my spirit, my spiritual side is, the prayer and meditation, as long as I'm not using it to get some kind of something out of it, like I did it to help out and just, to know that it will work, you know, it will work, and you are your own healer. And you learn that in time. And
Yeah.
it's kind of mind blowing when you actually, like, you say it, but you actually believe it and know it. And then you get to, you know, help other people, because that's what I want to do. That's I feel like is my calling, is to help people with sleep and anxiety, because I've experienced many, many years of the anxiety and then the insomnia. It's just, I feel like sometimes you know, my younger self would always feel like I didn't, you know, like, what is my purpose? You know, I don't know what my purpose is. But then when you go through something like this, you're like, this is my purpose. You know, this
Yeah.
is my purpose, to help other people.
Yeah, that's an incredible need, I believe, for someone like you who's not only understand things kind of theoretically, but experientially and has gone through this. And finally, I want to ask you, you know, outside of let's say anxiety healing and healing in terms of like the sleep struggles, have you found that going through this has helped in areas that was sort of unexpected, or other areas of life where you didn't necessarily see these truths before?
Yeah, I feel like it really made me dig really deep down inside. And it really, you know, I've heard other people say it too. It was like, this is one of many. It's given me one of many, like, spiritual experiences in you know, in my life. It really has. It's, as crazy as it seems, like, my darkest moments, which I felt like was, you know, in the middle, in the thick of insomnia, I feel like it really was some of my darkest moments. That, and being in anxiety, like, just coming out on the other side has given me something, like, so much more. I would have never thought it. Like, it's changed me forever in the best way possible. It's kind of brought me to, like, a state of consciousness, like a state of, like, my higher true self, in a weird way. If that makes sense. It might not, it might sound crazy, but that's okay, because I feel really good about it. It really has changed me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you know, again, like for some people listening here, it might seem impossible, but I've heard it so many times, and I believe it fully. And this whole journey has been a spiritual journey for me too, in terms of like learning about myself, the human mind, the human experience. It's incredible. So yeah, let's conclude there, and I'll just say thanks again for being here and sharing. It's been wonderful talking to you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone. They say that the best things in life are free. And I truly hope that this free video helps you rediscover something else that is free, which is peaceful sleep. If you do find our content here helpful, then please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with people, because the more views we get, the more people we reach, the more chances of changing lives we have. The thing is, leaving insomnia for good is actually so simple. You can and will rediscover a beautiful life at the end of this sleepless tunnel. So yes, please share it with people, hit the subscribe button, and you will be a big part of leading the change that we so want to see in the sleep universe. Thank you.